Hey everyone, today I have with me the co-founders of Guidde, a software enablement platform. If digital adoption, productive work environment, and self-service sound relevant to your business goals, you better stick around and listen to Dan and Yoav introduce Guidde. But before we actually delve into the bits and bytes, let's start with a quick introduction, as we always do. Dan and Yoav, could you please introduce yourself and perhaps share something about yourself that our audience on the call today can't find on those social, media channels?
Sure. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here, Avner, with you. And so I'll start. My name is Dan Sahar. I'm the co-founder of Guidde. Guidde is my second venture-backed startup. It's second time that it's actually a company that's a hybrid between the US and Israel, which is, I think, also a story of my life. I've been living between Israel and the US since childhood. Grew up in Israel, then went back to the US, back to Israel, and then for the last 12 years, I've been here in California. And Yoav, who will introduce himself in a second, we actually met in my previous company, Quilt, where he was one of our first 10 employees. So I think we spent a little bit of time together in Israel, but then I flew to the US and I've been here ever since.
What a story. Oh my God.
Yeah, for sure. So as Dan mentioned, so we know each other back from 2010 when I joined Quilt in the early days. And I think already back then we were kind of obsessed about videos, whether it's Netflix or nowadays Disney Plus and others. And prior to Guidde, I've been leading different product management teams, specifically in Israeli startups in the big data ecosystem. So that's kind of my expertise. And probably in a more personal note, something that you can't really find in LinkedIn, but you can find in social in general, that both Dan and I are really like a big sports fan. He's a 76ers, I'm more Bulls, but I think there's a lot of similarities in terms of coaching an NBA team, like coaching a startup, or a lot of resemblance in the two.
I would love to jump on another call with you guys and talk about, the San Francisco 76ers and football in general. That's one of my passions as well. But maybe before we actually do that, I wanted to ask you, like, to begin with, behind every successful business, there's always a pain, or a story about a pain. We encounter the pain, and that triggered us to think about a solution, and that leads to another project, another successful application, technology, etc. So I was wondering if there is any specific story, or a personal pain that triggered you guys to embark on this, journey.
Yeah, I think both Yoav and I spend like a considerable part of our careers in product roles, and one of the jobs that I would say most PMs I've met in my life really hate is writing documentation. It's like the how to create the help for a product is like one of the stuff that people really do not like to do, and that over the years has evolved into onboarding, self-service, and just like a bunch of other related tasks that you do as a product manager or product leader. And I think about the same time, like I was working in a cybersecurity startup, and Yoav was working in a big data company, and we encountered this problem both inside our product and working with partners, which both of us were at the time were working with a lot of like the large system integrators, how to enable them to use our software, our respected software. And we both kind of like almost miraculously at the same time did research, like what's going on in the industry, since the first doc site that we built. And what we saw, it really hasn't changed much. Even you take like large software like Tableau, or even like very visual stuff like Figma, still are stuck in the days of let's write docs and text-based documentation. Even Figma is like 100% visual application, but all their documentation, they have a YouTube site, but their help is almost entirely text-based. And we said, look, it can't be right. People, TikTok exists. Like people like to get their information on video. This doesn't make sense. And then we hit, like in my company, we found a product that we liked how they did the onboarding, how they did the knowledge, which was Miro. and like we found like this is what we want to build. Like, and we found like two great things that they did there. Like one, the whole knowledge was inside the application. They have a learning center. You don't have to leave the app. It's right there. It's contextual. You get the info where you're at without having to go to an external site. And two, video was everywhere. It's just like it's an education. You can watch and you can learn, and it's right there, and you can go back to your app. And what we at the time said, okay, we want that, and looked at basically everything that was available off the shelf, like stuff like digital adoption platforms and various onboarding solutions, and they couldn't make it work. It was like just like we tested them out. It was like a ton of effort just to create it. Said, okay, we got to build this solution ourselves because other people must be feeling the same pain point that we were having, and that's how Guidde started.
I couldn't agree more. I've been in that situation so many times. I started my career as a training manager in the Army, and then evolved into the same role, in the high-tech business. And in order to help, so many different audience, different users, like, tech support, sales, any type of users, I mainly relied on creating tutorials. The biggest challenge falls on the consumer, on the user, that person that needs help, who needs to actually read the entire document, and to find out later that the help he needed resides in page 54 in that specific short article, and she wasted hours looking up that specific nugget in that long document. Unfortunately, I think that every business realized that videos are the best replacement for those documents and PDFs, etc. And the biggest advantage with videos is that it's fun. It's not rocket science to create a tutorial. You just click the record button, and then a few seconds later, you've got a tutorial available for the entire company across the entire ecosystem. And it didn't take much effort to create that. So everyone wins when you go with a video approach, and especially when basically you go with a self-service approach. And that brings me to the next question. So perhaps we can actually spend some time talking about Guidde. What exactly is Guidde, and how does it leverage that idea?
Yeah, so I think like the fundamental kind of like design guidelines that we had from day one are pretty much like what Miro had. So it's one is like, in context, get the information where you are. That can be, by the way, both within the product, like with contextual help or contextual video, but it can also be many times outside of the product. Think about like somebody's asking a question on a Slack channel. You can respond with a video there. That same video can also serve you inside the product or over the product that you're on. Like you want to know a certain process on Salesforce. That's not your product, but you're using it on a daily basis. You want to get that information there. So that's one principle. The second principle, and we call this like software enablement, is our medium, the format, and the format is video. And I would say, just like, I'll beg to differ on one thing that you said earlier, which is we thought it's easy. And I think that was like kind of like our starting. We said, yeah, video, anybody can record it. People do it on TikTok and Instagram all the time. It's easy. It's easy to do it, I think, on a personal basis. But when you have to do something that's customer facing, that's marketing grade material, that is not easy. And it takes, I think what we've discovered is it takes even people who know what they're doing, multiple takes. It takes you a lot of time to produce the content that you want. And then the other thing is there's a mental overhead. Are you willing to get yourself on camera? Are you willing to get your voice on audio and share it with a customer? Not everyone in the world is willing to do that. And our solution, I think, that we'll talk about in a second, is like how to really simplify that motion, take that mental barrier, just like remove that friction, and make it just ubiquitous that anybody can use it.
So let me ask you this. Are there any specific pains or use cases that you're trying to resolve with Guidde? Let me be more specific with my questions. Are you basically trying to help a specific department, like, is it sales oriented or customer success, or basically any department can benefit from, a software enablement platform?
So I would start with the fact that probably in today's world, the biggest pain point is the attention span is really limited, both employees and the users, and the content should be really like short and to the point. And that's exactly, if you look at examples like tweets or ultra short videos like TikTok, that's a great example, maybe more from a social perspective. And people really like video. Video is really engaging, really personalized. It's a great way to consume content. But as Dan mentioned before, creating video content is hard, especially if you need it at scale and if it needs to be kind of customer grade or professional content. And it starts with the fact that you really need like all the mental overhead. You really need to kind of be ready. You usually do like 5-6 takes. Editing or updating video is usually really hard, so people tend to just record it again and again if they need to update it. And also there's a lot of kind of audio related issues. If I'm in the open space, I have a lot of background noise, I can't really record anything. If my mic is low quality, the audio sounds bad. Or if I'm not a native English speaker, also there's like language barrier. So all those parts really translate to what we're trying to solve with Guidde, both from instant creation of the video, really as simple as taking a screenshot, or the automation part, like help the user create a customer grade content, which has all the highlights text out of the box without doing anything. And the editing part is as intuitive as PowerPoint. So you don't really need to learn any new tools or new stuff. You just do the same stuff that you're used to do on a daily basis. And from a usage perspective, I think probably the most common use cases are either onboarding of new users and new employees, adoptions, or teaching new features or new processes, as well as kind of a new frequently asked question like, how do I integrate with Okta? How do I set up a VPN? How do I have a new OEM quote in Salesforce? There was a lot of how-tos which are really repetitive, and that's kind of what we call the tribal knowledge, how you share knowledge among members.
If someone is listening to this session today, this podcast today, and that specific business is using like a video editing tool, something that allows recording, a simulation of a sequence of steps, whatever. What would you be able to tell, advise those users, businesses that rely mainly on video editing tools compared to Guidde? Or in other words, could you elaborate on the benefits of using Guides compared to traditional video editing tools?
Yeah, so I think we're not a video editing company. I think like our building block is video, but the format that we've developed, essentially, you could think of it as a crossover between screenshots, which is something that pretty much every knowledge worker in the world knows how to do, and PowerPoint, again, a tool that most people in the world know how to do. And we kind of create a shakshuka, if you, as they say in Israel, of the two things, and build a format that is you wouldn't have to think about, that people can actually create a video out of that. So it's not, so you can, I think, pass a ton of information using this type of format. It's if you're looking for a 30-minute segment with like cutovers and stuff, that's not what our solution is designed to do. This is intended to, I think, really simplify the process of creation, so that it's something that you can, like you do Command-Shift-5 on a Mac, and just take a screenshot, make it as simple as that, and then that opens up. If you think about like who is recording videos in an organization today, everybody goes on Zoom. That's become something that people are quite comfortable with. They were not before, 5 years ago. That was not the situation. You would go on a Zoom, people would have their camera off. So that has changed considerably. But today, I think you see people who are creating async video, short form video. It's not 100% of the population out there. We want to get it to everybody. That basically it doesn't matter what your role is. You're in HR, you're in sales, you're in CSM. this is a tool that you can use to basically pass information. And two, I think, which is the second innovation that we're bringing, is have that video library that is accessible to you anywhere you are, in the app, outside the app, across the software that your company uses. Have that like destination that gives you the answers that you're looking for. And I think that's the second part. You want to find answers and get the information in a very condensed format that you can just like, okay, I got it. I can go back to my daily job after I got the info. So those are kind of like, I think, the unique aspects of our solution.
I have to admit, it was a very tricky question. So I just, sort of like forced you to provide that answer so I could actually elaborate on that and share my insight. I think there's nothing to compare. My 2 cents is that, those editing tools, just, if you're relying mainly on editing tools, you're going to end up having so much content to host and manage outside of your working environment. And a software enablement tool such as Guidde basically provides you a multi-layer of functionalities, such as, first of all, it's an in-app approach, which basically, you can make sure that you provide the right content to the right user at the right time, and you keep the users engaged with their working environment. So that's probably the greatest benefit of all. And the other benefit is the fact that on top of providing access to content, you also provide analytics. So as a manager, as someone who needs to report on whatever users are doing, you can actually understand what users are doing, what are the gaps, if there are any gaps, and then fill in the gaps with additional surgical help in terms of in the format of videos. And that actually brings me to the next question. Talking about Guidde, and I usually I'm very curious to find out what are the next steps, what's under the hood in terms of like next exciting features that you're planning to release very soon.
Cool. So I think there's tons of exciting stuff coming. We basically have new stuff coming out every 2 weeks nowadays. But I think in essence, we're trying again to simplify and automate all the process that you need to do to create a beautiful video in a very simple way. And I'll show you in a second. And a lot of the stuff that we're working now is, first of all, automation of masking or blurring all the personal information. You want to record a video over Salesforce or even over your customer environment, you need an easy way to mask like emails or phone numbers. So we'll do it for you out of the box. Or we're working on the ability to edit the audio like you edit text. So you can just change a word and it will change the audio stream based on that, which makes it really easy also to edit both the images inside the video as well as the audio track, and other stuff, as well as like one-click approach to plug the video in any system you need, if it's over Slack, over Teams, LMS, a sales enablement platform, or even like a support system like Zendesk. So the pluggability or the one-click approach, so you can copy paste it like you do in a GDoc. So just again, a quick example, but let's say I want to explain someone how to update multiple opportunities and change their stage at the same time. So all I need to do is to go to the Guidde recorder, click on record the step-by-step video, select, in this case, Salesforce, and then it will basically create the how-to for me. So let's say I want to click on opportunities, select here all the accounts, let's say click must update, and now I want to change the stage to proposal, and I'm done. As soon as I click stop, basically under a second, the video is already generated for you with all the highlights in the text and instruction. So you really don't need to edit it if you don't, based on the basics. So you see here, like click opportunities, and it marks for you the tab and provide the textual instruction. And then if you play it, you have here, click here and mass update, click mass update and everything, and click none and change the staging to proposal, and then okay. So everything is done for you on one hand. On the second hand, you can easily edit it as if it was a PowerPoint. Let's say I want to go to the video and now change it, just for the sake of example. I want to move the arrow here. I want to change it to cancel and even move it here. So I click save, and now the video is ready in literally a second. So it's really easy, also very intuitive on one hand. Second thing is, if I go back to the video itself, I can easily use it on any tool I'm used to do on a daily basis. Let's say I want to copy to a Gmail. I just click here and go to my email and just paste it. So it's really easy and it's very visual. Same goes to if I want to kind of copy it to a conference page or a Zendesk or Intercom, whatever I want, or even a GDoc, I just copy it here and go to my GDoc and paste it, and then I create the PDF or whatever I want. So it's really, again, very, very easy to create, edit, copy, and share it in a very visual way. So that's kind of, yeah, in a nutshell, how easy it is and all the elements that we talked about, simplicity and automation approach.
I think you just demonstrated in 60 seconds what usually takes like, hours, maybe 120 minutes. And not to mention the effort of like hosting and sharing and making sure that everyone has permissions to view or to read the tutorial or whatever it is. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think even another aspect is if it's customer facing content, usually it needs to follow the corporate branding kit. And the fact will allow you to upload your PowerPoint template, which everyone has one, gives it the same look and feel like a PowerPoint. So the video looks professional with your brand, with your colors, your background, your logo out of the box, and you just create a template and all the videos gets the template based on that. So also the branding part, which usually you need to wait a few weeks till marketing approves the video to be sent out, also is supported out of the box.
The simplicity of creating and sharing a tutorial or any piece of, enablement module. Many businesses basically, claim to have a self-service solution or product, but in the end of the day, when it's not a self-service product, you don't get to the renewal stage. So I was wondering, what actions or plans are you guys taking in order to ensure that users are effectively leveraging your solution?
Yeah, so I think we continuously track our engagement metrics. And like you said, if a product is not being used, you run the risk of churn, I think. And it really starts with like the beginning, like how fast can you show time to value of the solution so that you hook people and they really begin to use your solution and then later on become in love with it and use it more and more. So what I think we have two kind of like one North Star, which is like what is the creation of videos by everybody that's using it. So we want to get you to, within the first 5 minutes of logging into the platform, we want you to create your first video with Guidde. And that's something that we're continuously looking to shave, reduce any complexity there, make it just like funnel the user to do that as fast as possible. The second metric is like how, make the format so accessible that people just love to watch it. Like, and that's views and engagement on the video itself. Like how long do people actually stay? This is one reason why we drove the video time to be like 60 seconds or less. So it's like, attention spans are falling. 30 seconds I'll watch. If it's 5 minutes, I'm not going to watch it. It's too long, like TLDV, too long didn't view. So how do we do that? We actually, I think, focus on three things. So one is like instant, like make the creation process as fast as possible. And Yoav showed you the demo. It's like, it's just like from the point you click stop, how fast does the video appear right after that? Make it ease of use. And I think on that front, the approach that we took was just like give people tools that they're already familiar with. In this case, screenshot and PowerPoint, like very editing that, my daughters who are in elementary school, they already use slides, but essentially the same thing. And then finally, it's where can you watch this video? And I think this was a big thing that we realized was, it's portable. Video is portable. You can watch it everywhere. It can be over email. It can be in our web app. It can be in app. It can be in Slack. It can be in Salesforce. There's just like a myriad of tools where it can be used. So make sure, like Yoav said earlier, that it is super easy to embed it anywhere and just like open it. And I think that's a lesson, I think, from our past lives in Quilt. If you're a content provider, you want your content to be everywhere. You want it on Netflix, you want it on HBO now. Make sure that brings up more and more eyeballs. Do the same thing with software, I think.
I couldn't agree more. Listening to you, Dan, and seeing the demo a few minutes ago, the slogan echoes in my head: "Power to the people." But then I thought, like, what could be more relevant is video to the people. It might sound silly, but through those videos and the simplicity of creating those videos, you empower users to contribute to the productivity of the organization or a specific department. And just it's amazing, if you can make it very simple and you can make the process of analyzing the engagement and then recreating more content so simple and so fast, everyone wins. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I really enjoyed seeing Guidde in action. And my final question for today is the obvious question: where do you see Guidde 5 years from today?
So I think we want to make this tool like ubiquitous, something that people basically a replacement for screen capture and text. That's it. That's our goal. Like, we're not gonna, you're still gonna write text if you work at a company, but it's about like how much make the guide button, the creation tool, something that you don't think about, and you just, this is like your go-to tool that whenever somebody asks you a question, this is the simple way to answer that question. If we get to that point, I think good things will happen, and there's a lot more layers that are going to be built on top. But that's basically our North Star, where we want to get to.
I guess if you walk in the corridor and you hear people saying like, "Did you guide this?" That might be a good reflection of success.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's guide it. Hey, Dan and Yoav, I really enjoyed this conversation. And again, the demo was amazing in its simplicity. I really appreciate the time today and the information that you shared with everyone here with us. And I can't wait, to meet with you guys again very soon and see, the progress and hear more about the updates and how Guidde can actually help, more and more businesses everywhere.
It was our pleasure, and I love the movie Moneyball. So it's you got a good name for the podcast.
Thank you very much.